A big welcome back to the thousands and thousands that make up the Everyman driver nation. And if you're visiting for the very first time, welcome aboard. I am Dave Erickson alongside Alex DeFries.
This week we're reviewing the 2013 Mazda CX-9 Grand Touring all-wheel drive.
This is the top of the line. Today we're going to take this baby for a spin, tell you what's under the hood, and give you an Everyman driver's point of view on what it takes to drive this bad boy around the streets in your neighborhood.
Thanks so much for watching. Everyman Driver starts now. Well, Mazda throws around the words Skyactiv technology quite a bit, and nobody really knows what it means. It's really just a marketing buzzword for all sorts of power, safety, handling, enhancements, a little bit like Honda's Earth Dreams technology. In this case, the power plant is a 3.7 liter V6 with variable valve timing. It's got 273 horsepower, 270 foot-pounds of torque, and Dave, in a car this size, I feel like that's just right. It's got enough power, but at the same time, it won't rip your face off.
Fuel economy numbers surprised me. We received this vehicle with about 6,000 miles on it. We put about 200 miles on it in our week that we've had this car. Most of our driving, to be completely honest here, has been in the city. We have been on the highway a few times just to have that mix, and yet the fuel economy average has been very low in mixed driving. It's rated at 16 miles per gallon in the city and 22 on the highway. We've been getting in mixed driving just above 15 miles per gallon. So I think a lot of that has to do with maybe not enough driving on the highway for us, but it's also a very large vehicle, over 4,400 pounds, and it takes a lot more gas to push a larger vehicle.
Absolutely. Also, this has a proper 6-speed automatic transmission, none of this CVT nonsense. And for me, I will suffer a couple miles at the pump to not have to deal with one of those pesky CVTs.
Some of the standard equipment features on the CX-9 include leather-wrapped shift knob and steering wheel, heated 8-way power driver's seat and power lumbar with 3-position memory, heated power front passenger seat, rear backup sensors, fog lights and LED daytime running lights, heated power mirrors. It also comes with a 5.8-inch color display with rear backup camera and speed censoring auto door locks, plus Mazda's advanced keyless entry and start system, to name a few. Now it's time to talk about ride and handling inside the CX-9, and this is a large vehicle. It's more than 2 tons. So what's it feel like from you as a driver when it comes to steering this beast?
I am pleasantly surprised. When Mazda first came out with this car, they did the whole, this is supposed to be, a sporty SUV and everything else. And I'll be honest, I didn't buy it. I'm thinking to myself, this is just another SUV that, they're trying to say is sporty or whatever. It actually is. Now, it is over 2 tons. Don't get me wrong. It's still a good sized SUV, but it's got plenty of power. Power delivery is smooth. The steering feels sporty. It feels heavy. And going around corners, this thing is better than anything else in the class. So they really did do a good job of making, seemingly just a grocery getter fun to drive.
Well, let's move from ride and handling to the driver's experience inside the car and what you see directly in front of you, beginning with the instrument cluster. 6 areas of information, which I think maybe are too many. You have the obvious, you have your fuel gauge, your RPMs, your miles per gallon, the engine temperature, but then you have a couple of extra ones here which I think could be combined into one. What is your perspective here?
Well, yeah, I like the way that the 4 big gauges are laid out, but this information here in the center is just, it's not clean, it's not sophisticated at all. Essentially you've got where you are, you know, drive, park, neutral, what gear you're in, and then your odometer, and all of that could have been integrated into one digital gauge, either put in the middle, or my favorite, as some of the Hondas and Acuras do, integrated into one of, you know, either the speedometer or tachometer. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that you're looking at all the time, so definitely could be cleaner, could be better.
And one of the pieces of information you're talking about is here in the center stack, just above the display here. That's where you have your time of day, your average miles per gallon, how many miles you have left in your trip, and other things, which that, I think, would be better served in the instrument cluster.
Well, I agree. I think if you wanted to integrate all of it into one, but I will say that unlike the Mazda 3, which seemed to just copy and paste screens, at least this one here it's all one theme, so to speak. I don't mind that quite as much, keeping the information that you've got above the screen where it is, but definitely on the instrument cluster, making that a more tidy package.
And we both have an issue with this 5.8-inch digital display here. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's big enough. I think you have room to make it a little bit bigger. And if you want to avoid the knobs or buttons, you can put it all into a touch screen and make a bigger touch screen.
Yeah, I mean, any girl's going to tell you that 5.8 inches just isn't enough. So I think making this screen a little bigger, you know, and it's fine. It's easy to read. Could be a little bigger, especially in, you know, in a car this big. You're sitting a little ways back. But again, this whole theme, just like the CX-5, it's clean. You know, it's not super cluttered. There's not a million buttons. So overall, a pretty nice place to be.
Okay, here on the door panel, which is interesting, it's a different layout to me, and the power window buttons are in a different position, and it's a little bit odd to me. In fact, it's not a big deal to have to stretch a little bit, but that's not a traditional layout.
Yeah, and actually the handle essentially to open, you know, and well, to close the door is a little weird too. It's fine. I'm sure we can get a shot of it, but it's slightly awkward. And so the whole door, and you know, and both these doors, as we mentioned, are really big. So the whole doors, they're fine. It's not a huge deal, but they are a little odd. Well, all of our obese members of the Everyman Driver Nation are going to love the doors on the CX-9. They're very wide and very long, so keep that in mind when you're in a parking lot. As for rear leg room, it is excellent in the second row. There's a sliding mechanism here where I can go forwards and backwards, and headroom and leg room are excellent. Dave is going to crawl into the third row and let us know what it's like back there. Dave?
Well, good thing that these seats have a nice travel. I don't know how many inches exactly. It could be 5 to 8 inches of travel. But it's fine because I have room right here, but I'm guessing you're 6'2", I'm 5'11"-ish. If I want to get behind you, which I'll try, and you're all the way back, right?
Yes, sir.
This is not a comfortable spot to be.
No.
My knees and my feet, I'm having a hard time getting my shoes behind you. So if you were a little bit shorter or had shorter legs, you can slide this thing forward. That would give me more room back here, which is a little bit better, but I think full size or 6'1", let's say you have 3 guys who are 6'1", probably not the best, and headroom back here, yeah, you're gonna suffer back here for headroom. But the good thing is that this middle row does slide, which gives you some flexibility on legroom for different passenger sizes.
Yeah, and let's be honest, this isn't a huge car, you know, depending on what you call it. It's a large crossover or medium-sized SUV. So overall, a lot of flexibility and, you know, quite a bit of room. So this car really gets high marks overall for rear leg room.
From passenger room to cargo room, the CX-9 has 2 options to open the lift gate here. You have one on the fob, and also, since the car has already been opened up, you can use your hand to lift it up as well. So let's take a look back here, see how much space we have. And Alex, we've got a little demo here, which is appropriate.
We do. We have all our junk inside this trunk, and you can see with the third row up, trunk space is really limited, and this even slopes. So you're looking at a really awful amount of trunk space, but that's with the third row seats up. As you know, these can go down. So if we take our goodies out here, there's actually 2 latches. There's one latch that brings the headrest down, and then there's another latch that actually folds the seats down.
Now mine goes flush, and that's because I have the second row seat in the same position that I had it in when I got in the vehicle, but Alex's position is where it was before, and obviously it's not going down. Yeah,
so essentially if you want that awesome rear leg room, you're not going to be able to fold the third row seats completely flush. So really the theme of this car is ultimately flexibility but compromise. I mean, there's a lot of options for seating, for storage, but you're not going to get all of them at once.
Well, let's take a look at some more storage room as we get rid of our Propel Zero water here, which is not a sponsor of Everyman Driver.
But they could be.
All right, here we go. This is where you would normally find maybe a spare tire, but on this vehicle, it's underneath the vehicle, and this is where they have your jack kit and tools.
Yeah, and also a real amount of storage area underneath here, and also Bose has very cleverly hidden their subwoofer.
Again, the key word here is flexibility, Alex.
Yeah, essentially, you know, with the seat sliding and this third row that folds down and everything else, for the size of this car, you're not going to get everything to everybody all the time, but there's a lot of different options to really make storage and hauling and people carrying as efficient as possible.
So the MSRP here on the 2013 Mazda CX-9 is just over $36,000. We also have the Grand Touring package, which adds another $2,400. So this all-wheel drive, when it's all said and done, just under 40 grand. The Everyman Driver Nation wants to know, Alex, what do you give it on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'm going to give this car a 9 out of 10.
Really?
I love this car. I would actually buy this car. It's the perfect size SUV. It's full size, so to speak, but it's not too big. It handles far better than it should. I think it looks great, even though it's a 6-year-old design. You know, the only thing that would bump it up to perfect is I think the screen's too small. Some of the sort of interior ergonomics with the door handles and some stuff is a little quirky, and you know, the rear cargo space with that third row seat up is terrible, but again, these are nitpicky things. I love this car. I really was surprised at how much I liked it.
I'm gonna give it a high 7, give it maybe an 8 just to be, you know, to balance it out. I think it's a good value for this vehicle. Maybe the reason why I'm giving it an 8 is because I have a different preference. I do like it. I think it drives okay. It's a bit of a heavy drive for me. I think we're sacrificing a little bit in the cargo room. I don't know, I'm not in love with it, but I do see the value in it. Gas mileage, oof, that's where I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, that's true. Now, none of the cars in this segment are great, but this is not the best. The other thing is, with these 20-inch rims that we got with the Grand Touring package, they look great. The ride is a little harsh, and because of its sporting nature, it's not going to be quite as supple as some other cars out there. For somebody like me who likes a sportier ride, though, in an SUV, this is right up my alley.
I think it's a great family car.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 rows of seats. I mean, that's why this car is so popular in Mazda's lineup, and the biggest that Mazda has to offer.
And I mentioned this a lot, but this car's also, you know, it's a little different. In a world of, you know, of Honda CR-Vs and Toyota RAV4s, and, you know, I realize that this is a little bigger, but this is the type of car that people get in and they go, oh, I've never been in one of these before. And, you know, I love driving something a little different, so got to commend this for that as well.
So Alex gives it a 9, I give it an 8. Overall, let's go 8.5. For Alex DeFries, I'm Dave Erickson. Thanks for watching Everyman Driver. We'll see you next time.